Hello, welcome to SQL02pro.com. This is Hassan Mir. In this tutorial, I'm going to give you an express tour on SQL. Okay, so topics we're going to cover today include create statement, describe command, insert statement, select statement, update statement, delete statement, and drop statement. Okay, so let's talk about create statement first. This is a syntax on the screen for create statement. It's used to create tables, and tables are objects that store data within it. Okay, so this is the syntax: create table, then you specify the table name, and within the brackets you specify the list of columns along with their data types. So let's take a look at this statement in action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into an application called Oracle Express. You'll be learning to install this application in the next tutorial. It's a free software. You should install it and start practicing your SQL and PLSQL in this software. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into Oracle Express, and this is a list of options I get. I'm going to click on SQL icon here, and then I'm going to click on SQL commands icon here. Okay, so in the next tutorial you're going to learn how to install this software as well as how to use it. Okay, so the whole objective of this tutorial is to give you a little flavor of what SQL is. So I'm not gonna make you an SQL expert in this tutorial, so it's a gradual step-by-step learning process. So subsequent tutorials will be talking about each of these commands in detail, plus lots of other commands. So just keep the perspective in mind. The whole idea of this tutorial is to give you a flavor on SQL. So let's create a table. So why do we create a table? If you want to store a data about some entity in real world that you want to have information about that entity for your business requirements, so that's why you create a table in the database, and all the attributes of that entity that you're interested in would be represented as table columns in the database. For example, if I want to store information about my friends, about my contact, all my contacts, so I'm going to create a table and call it contact. Okay, so create table contact, and what columns I want to create in this table depends on what attributes I'm interested in the entity contact. For example, I'm interested in storing the first name and the last name about my contact information, as well as I'm interested in storing the phone numbers. Okay, and maybe not at this point, I'm not really interested in storing the addresses. So in the bracket I'm going to provide the list of all the column names for this table, and whatever attributes you're interested in should be represented as column names. Now, beside the column names, you need to specify what kind of data this column would be storing. So there are two kind of data you can store: numeric data or alphanumeric data. So of course, first name column would take alphanumeric values in it, right? So you have to, in order to tell Oracle that this column would be storing alphanumeric values, the data type called varchar2 is used. Initially, Oracle reserved the word varchar for the coming versions, but now the varchar2 is the norm to use for alphanumeric data types, right? So just understand that this is the alphanumeric data type. Don't go into why varchar2, why not varchar. So that's pretty much it. And if it's a alphanumeric column, then you have to tell Oracle what's the maximum size of text this column can take. So let's say the maximum first name that we would be storing in the database would be, let's say, 30. Okay, so this is a requirement that you have to, if you are specifying data type of a column to be varchar2, then you have to specify the maximum size of any value that can go in that column. Okay, and now we're going to put a comma here, because each column must be separated by a comma in this create table syntax. So the second column is last name, and basically it would have the same definition. Varchar2 of, let's say, 30, it would be the maximum length of any last name we would be storing. And phone number, we could make it numeric, but alphanumeric will make more sense because there are dashes and brackets in the phone number as well. So let's say varchar2 and 15 is the maximum size of the value that would go in this column that will take care of international numbers. Now we want to put an ID column here. Okay, and for each contact we will issue a new ID. The first contact would be 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason is it's very important in relational databases that each record is uniquely identified, and usually in table we put some sequence numbers that are declared as primary keys. I'm going to tell you what primary keys are in coming tutorials, but just understand that these sequence type columns guarantee the uniqueness of each record. So let's say there could be a case where you have two, for example, two people by the same first name and last name, and they're sharing the residence. So then you will have two records of exactly same values, and this kind of a legal concept in relational databases. How would you identify which person is which? Because in real life they're two different people, so there has to be always some kind of unique identifier. So we're going to just include an ID column here, and the ID column would take numeric values in it, so the data type would be number. Now it's not required for number type to specify the limit, like what's the maximum number it could take, but so 3 would be the scale of the number, but we're just gonna tell Oracle that hey, ID is a number column and it can take the maximum number allowed. So that's pretty much it. So this is the create statement, and it's going to create a table. Okay, so what I can do is I can just click on the run button here, or I can basically just select the whole statement and press Control Enter. That's a shortcut to run the statement. Okay, so I can see the message table created in this much time. Okay, so a table has been created. Now let's go back to the slides. Okay, the next command we're going to talk about is a describe command. So describe command can give you structure of any table that already exists in the system. So this is a syntax describe table name. So if I go back to my Oracle Express and I write here describe contact, and I run this statement by selecting the whole command and pressing Control Enter, I should get the structure of the table. At the bottom section here you can see all the columns are listed here, and along with their data type and maximum length allowed. Okay, so that's what the describe command does. So describe command is not officially part of structured query language. It's more of a command for this query tool, so that's why I call it a command, not a statement. Okay, so let's go back to the tutorial. Next statement we're going to look at is insert statement. This is the syntax. Insert into the table name and values, and brackets you specify all the values that you want to insert into table. So obviously insert statement is used to insert records into the table. Okay, so let's insert a record into table contact. Okay, so this is the insert statement, like insert into table name is contact. So in the bracket I'm going to provide all the values that I want to insert in this table. So numeric values you just enter without any code, so each value has to be separated by a comma, and all the text or alphanumeric values will go in single quotes. Okay, so that's very important. Now the first column was ID, so ID is 1 for this first record, and first name is Hassan and last name is Mir, and let's say phone number is this. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now just keep in mind two things. All these statements and commands in SQL are not really case sensitive, so I can write this insert statement in uppercase as well. However, the text values are case sensitive, so HASAN in this title case is going to be is a different value than HASAN in all uppercase. Okay, so and also the spaces are not really important and the lines are not really important. I can write the whole insert statement in one line, or I can divide this into multiple lines. So spacing is not really important. However, there has to be at least one space between each logical keywords, right? For example, insert space into is a legal usage, and insert into without any space is a legal usage. So just keep that in mind about SQL. So I'm just going to run this command. So statement running. I forgot the keyword values here. Okay, so insert into table name values, and then in the bracket all the list of values you specify.